Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, you're listening to me, Dr. Den, on the Dr. Den Dust Show. If you ask most people where UFO sightings happen, they'll say the United States, Roswell, Area 51, and the Nevada deserts. But tonight, we're staying closer to home, because for decades, the skies over the United Kingdom have quietly, sometimes officially, been limited to encounters with things that never received an explanation. Not myths, not internet rumours. Reports involving police officers, RAF personnel and government departments who, very reluctantly, kept records. Tonight, we're talking about UFOs, now known as UAPs in the UK, and why Britain's story might be one of the strangest of all. So, why does the UK matter? The UK is an unusual place for UFO sightings. It's small, it's densely populated, and has a heavily monitored airspace. And yet, for over 50 years, the Ministry of Defence quietly collected reports of unexplained objects in the sky. More recently, the man in charge of keeping an eye on and keeping records of UAPs was Nick Pope. Not because they believed in aliens, but because trained observers kept seeing things they couldn't identify. Commercial pilots, military pilots, police officers, radar operators. The UK sits at a crossroads between mainland Europe and the Atlantic, surrounded by military training zones, NATO flight paths and foreign surveillance routes. If something unusual enters European airspace, the UK is likely to notice. In this podcast, I'm going to look at some of the well-known and not so well-known reports and sightings in the UK. So sit back, put on your tinfoil hat and enjoy Britain's quiet encounters. The Rendlesham Forest Incident. On the 26th of December 1980, near Rendlesham Forest, something happened that still has no official explanation. A security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights apparently descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest. Servicemen initially thought it was a downed aircraft. According to Holt's memo, upon entering the forest to investigate, they witnessed a glowing object that was metallic in appearance with coloured lights. Sergeant Jim Peniston later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin. They said it was smooth, black or dark silver, covered in strange symbols. One witness touched it. Later that night, radiation readings were taken above background levels. Lieutenant Colonel Charles I. Holt visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours of the 28th of December 1980, reported as the 29th of December by Holt. They took radiation readings in the triangle of depressions and in the surrounding area using an ANPDR-27, a standard US military radiation survey meter. Although they recorded 0.07 millirankins per hour, in other regions they detected 0.03 to 0.04 millirankins per hour around the background level. Furthermore, they detected a similar small burst over half a mile away from the presumed landing site. Holt recorded the events on a micro-cassette recorder. You can hear them in the background. And this wasn't rumour. The incident was formally documented by the base's deputy commander in a memo sent directly to the MOD. No explanation was ever given. To this day, the UK government says the case poses no threat, but it remains unidentified. The skeptic's view. Timings on Halt's tape recording during the sightings on the 28th of December indicate that the lights he saw, which lay in the same direction as the light seen 2 nights earlier, flashed every 5 seconds, which was the flash rate of the Orford Nest lighthouse. The star-like objects that Halt reported hovering low to the north and south are thought by some skeptics to have been misinterpretations of bright stars distorted by atmospheric and optical effects, other common source of UFO reports. The brightness of them to the south matched the position of Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. My take on this is, we now know the RAF Woodbridge had nukes in the form of missiles stored in silos on the base. This was top secret at the time, so no one knew. It is now common knowledge that UFOs and UAPs visit nuke sites all the time to check up on what we are doing. I read a story not too long ago that not long after this event, that another UFO was seen hovering over silos with a beam of light shining on them at the time. The airbase was on red alert for several minutes until it flew off vertically. Did they really see a UFO on the 26th? My guess is yes, probably a scout ship to see what they would do if they found the craft. Would they shoot it down or leave it alone? Who knows? But this is our Roswell, as they say, the best documented UFO case by a trained personnel. But again, covered up a lot more than they have released by the government idiots that think we can't handle the truth. But I've got news for the government. We can handle it. We can deal with it. We've been dealing with it for a long time. So just tell us. We're not going to panic. Remember, we're British. We have a stiff upper lip.
10 degrees off the horizon. Still moving erratic and similar lights and beaming guns.
UFO sightings in the UK don't belong only to the military. British police officers, trained observers, have repeatedly reported encounters. Objects pacing patrol cars, hovering silently above roads, accelerating at impossible speeds. In one case near Cosford, witnesses described a diamond-shaped craft that moved from a standstill to the horizon in seconds. No sonic boom, no engine noise. Police officers filed reports anyway, knowing how it might sound. The details matter, because ridicule has always been the strongest silencer, precisely because it never tried to be sensational and never found an answer. The Cosford UFO incident. In the early hours of the morning on the 31st of March 1993, 2 police officers were patrolling quiet roads near the village of Cosford. Nothing unusual was expected. No special operations, no military exercise, just another night shift. What they saw next will become one of the most credible and unresolved UFO encounters in British history. Both officers were in separate patrol cars. They were not together. They were not discussing anything unusual. Then independently, they noticed something in the sky. A large, diamond-shaped object, perfectly geometric. It had bright white lights in each corner, a single red light in the centre, sharp, defined edges. This was not a distant light. It was close enough for them to clearly see its shape, and it was silent. No engine noise, no rotor sound, no jet roar. The object did not behave like an aircraft. It hovered, then it moved slowly, deliberately across the sky, and then, without warning, it accelerated, not gradually, but instantly. One officer later said it crossed the visible sky in seconds, disappearing towards the horizon without banking or turning like a conventional craft. No sonic boom, no sound at all. Both officers radioed in what they'd seen. Their reports matched. Around the same time, radar operators at RAF Cosford reportedly detected unidentified returns. Objects that did not match. Scheduled flights, military exercises, known aircraft signatures. This detail matters because radar correlation is rare and because it removes one of the easiest explanations: imagination. The official response. As protocol required, the incident was forwarded through official channels to the Ministry of Defence. The MOD's public response was familiar. They suggested possible misidentification, aircraft lighting, atmospheric effects. But here's the problem. No specific aircraft was ever identified. No explanation accounted for. The diamond shape, the total silence, the sudden acceleration, or the radar returns. So, the case was filed. Not explained, just unresolved. Why Cosford matters. The Cosford incident stands out for a reason. This wasn't a single witness, a fleeting light, a civilian guessing at distance. It involved 2 trained police officers, independent but consistent testimony, radar involvement, formal documentation, and no motive for exaggeration. Police officers don't gain anything from reports like this. If anything, they risk ridicule, yet they reported it anyway. Common explanation and the gaps. Could it have been a military aircraft? Possibly, but no known aircraft in 1993 could hover silently, accelerate instantly, change direction without banking. Could it have been an atmospheric phenomenon? That doesn't explain structure, or lights arranged with symmetry, or controlled movement, which leaves one uncomfortable category: something unknown. The Cosford UFO incident didn't make headlines. There were no press conferences, no dramatic follow-ups, just a police report, no radar trace, and a question that was never answered. And maybe that's why Cosford still matters. Because it wasn't spectacular, it was ordinary, professional, documented and unresolved. My take? The Cosford UFO incident is quite important because it was 3 years after the Belgian UFO triangle incident, in which people reported for the first time seeing a triangular UFO. And I think this is one of the first incidences of the British seeing a triangular UFO in the UK, or a confirmed triangle UFO in the UK. 2 police officers, responsible adults who have got nothing to gain by actually reporting something like this. So why would they do it? Because they're honest people with responsibility. If you had responsibility like them, would you do it? Knowing that you've got a good chance of not only being ridiculed, but being questioned about your job in the future. In my eyes, these 2 guys are heroes. The reports just disappeared, straight into the military vaults of never to be seen again. Typical. I managed a couple of years ago to get the actual files under the Freedom of Information Act, and I had a good look through. There is more to this than I've just explained. However, it would take me a 5-hour podcast just to get through them all. So, have a look. Go and find the files. They're out there on the internet. Trust me, it's well worth the time spent. The Kelvin photograph, 1990, Scotland. The Kelvin photograph is one of the most important and controversial UFO UAP cases in UK history because it involves a physical photograph, military interest and decades of official silence. Unlike many sightings, this case isn't just testimony, it's an image the UK government kept classified for over 30 years. Where and when? Location? Near Kelvin. Date? August 1990. Time? Early evening. The area is remote, mountainous and sparsely populated. Ideal conditions for a clear, unobstructed evening. The witnesses, 2 men, often described as hikers or hotel workers, reportedly seen a large, dark, diamond-shaped object hovering silently in the sky for several minutes. They also reported a military jet, believed to be an RAF aircraft, circling or passing near the object, suggesting scale and proximity. The witnesses were close enough to take multiple photographs. The photograph itself. The image shows a sharply defined diamond-shaped object, appearing solid, not luminous, suspended above the landscape, with what appears to be an RAF jet nearby. Key details. The object casts no visible exhaust. The photograph is steady, not blurred. The shape is geometric and symmetrical. This makes Kelvin unusual. It depicts structure, not just light. Government involvement. The witnesses submitted the photographs to a UK newspaper, which then contacted the Ministry of Defence. What happened next is critical. The MOD confiscated the photographs. Analysts and military intelligence examined them. The images were classified and withheld from the public. Only sketches based on memories circulated for decades. Decades of silence. For over 30 years. The MOD refused to release the image. It was exempt from disclosure. No official explanation was offered. This secrecy fueled speculation. Experimental aircraft, foreign technology, or something genuinely unknown. Release and renewed debate. In the early 2020s, one of the original Kelvin photographs was finally revealed publicly through archival research. Its release reignited debate because the object appeared far larger than a conventional aircraft. The shape does not match known 1990-era UK or NATO craft. The jet presence suggested the object was taken seriously. The skeptics argue a forced perspective, a hoax using a suspended model. Supporters counter, military response makes a simple hoax unlikely. No definitive mundane explanation has been proven. The case remains unresolved. Why Kelvin matters. The Kelvin photograph is significant because it combines visual evidence, credible witnesses, military interest, long-term secrecy. It bridges the gap between anecdotal sightings and physical documentation. Very few UK cases do that. place in UK UFO history, alongside Rendlesham Forest military witnesses, Cosford police and radar. Calvin forms part of a golden triangle of UK UFO cases. Documented, serious, never explained, and never resolved. Sometimes the most unsettling mysteries aren't loud. They're filed away and left unanswered. I first saw the Calvin photograph while watching an episode of The X-Files, and it was behind Mulder and his desk, and I thought it was a really weird photograph because it wasn't a photograph, it was just a photocopy. A black diamond with a little jet behind it and some weird background. I was fascinated by it, tried to look it up, couldn't find much about it because at the time the internet wasn't really up and running. Later on, when I found out what it was, I took a deep interest in it because it was a UFO case in the UK. The more I dug, the more I found out, and I realised that it was quite an important case. My son and I have talked about this several times, and what we're going to do is make a podcast about it. Since the release of the actual photographs, we're going to really dig into it and make a serious podcast. So, watch this space. The UK UFO cases you've probably never heard of. 2000 to 2025. The quiet years. When people think about UFO sightings, they tend to think in eras. The 1940s, the Cold War, Roswell, the 80s, Rendlesham Forest. There's quite assumption that things eventually stop. That with satellites, radar, smartphones and drones, the mystery went away. But in the United Kingdom, something else happened. The sightings didn't stop. They just stopped being talked about. Now we're going to be looking at the lesser known UFO or UAP incidences from the last 25 years. Cases that didn't become famous, didn't become memes, and in many cases never received a public explanation at all. The modern UK context. In 2009, the Ministry of Defence officially closed its UFO desk. The public reason was simple: UFO posed no threat to national security. But that meant, in practice, was this: reports didn't stop coming in, they just stopped being centrally investigated. From that point on, sightings were treated as air safety issues, military training matters, or administrative noise. And that shift explains why many modern cases feel incomplete. The St. Atham UAP 2000. In the year 2000, near St. Atham, RAF personnel reported something unusual. A silent, triangular object. Witnesses described it hovering near military facilities before accelerating away at speed. This wasn't a civilian report. It involved trained service members. The incident was logged and passed up the chain, but no explanation was ever released publicly. No aircraft identified, no test acknowledged. Just a quiet administrative closure. This pattern will repeat. The Penta incident. In 2016, residents near Pentuck reported a disturbing series of events. Unusual lights in the sky, low-flying military aircraft, a loud explosion like sound that shook buildings. What followed made the incident stranger. A prolonged military presence, road closures, a heavy official response. The MOD later acknowledged military activity in the area, but denied anything unusual occurred. To this day, no full explanation accounts for the lights, the sound, or the scale of the response. Whether this was a classified test, an accident, or something else entirely remains unclear. Penta is controversial, but it's also modern, and that matters. The Alderney Pilot Sightings, 2007. In 2007, commercial pilots flying near Alderney reported something extraordinary. Large cigar-shaped objects moving at extreme speed over open water. These weren't hobbyists. They weren't guessing. The pilots filed formal aviation reports. Radar data was unclear. Some interpretations suggested anomalous returns. Others showed nothing conclusive. The sightings were logged as unidentified. No further action taken. The North Sea reports. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, pilots and offshore workers in the North Sea repeatedly reported strange activity. Lights pacing aircraft, objects appearing briefly on radar, targets that vanished without explanation. This airspace is among the most monitored in Europe. It contains commercial flight routes, energy infrastructure, military patrol zones, and yet some encounters defied classification. They were logged and quietly set aside. Police and near-miss reports. During the 2010s, UK police officers and pilots submitted a small number of unusual reports. Some involved dashcam footage of unexplained lights, near misses with objects lacking transponders, encounters initially blamed on drones, but timelines don't always line up. Some reports predate widespread drone use. Others occurred at altitudes consumer drones couldn't reach. These cases were folded into aviation safety databases, not UFO files. And in doing so, they largely disappeared from public awareness. Patterns in the quiet cases. Across these lesser-known incidents, familiar patterns emerge. Silence, sudden acceleration, radar ambiguity, military proximity, and perhaps most importantly, no follow-up. These aren't stories of panic or hysteria, they're stories of paperwork, of reports written, filed, and closed. Why this still matters. The last 25 years of UK UFO sightings don't give us answers. They give us something else. A picture of how modern institutions deal with the unexplained. Quietly, cautiously, and without conclusions. The mystery didn't end. It went underground, into databases, into archives, into phrases like "no threat determined," and maybe that's the most unsettling part. Not that strange things might still be in the sky, but that we've learned how to stop talking about them. the Ministry of Defence files. For decades, the MOD's public stance was consistent. UFOs pose no threat to national security. But when thousands of pages were declassified, the truth was more complicated. Officials admitted many cases were unresolved. Some involved advanced flight characteristics. Radar confirmation occurred in rare instances. In 2009, the MOD closed its UFO desk, not because sightings stopped, but because officially they couldn't justify the resources. Unofficially, they had no answers. UFO versus UAP. Today, language has changed. Not UFO, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. That shift matters. It removes assumptions. It removes pop culture. It leaves one uncomfortable fact. We don't know what some things in the sky are. The UK now treats these encounters primarily as air safety issues, intelligence matters, shared concerns with allies, especially the United States. Quietly, carefully. What could they be? There are only a handful of serious explanations. 1. Misidentified aircraft or drones. 2. Atmospheric or plasma phenomena. 3. Foreign surveillance technology. 4. Something genuinely unknown. Non-fully explained. Sudden acceleration. Silent hypersonic movement. Physical interaction. And that's the point. The mystery remains. Britain's quiet sky. The UK doesn't shout about UFOs. No hearings, no spectacle. Just forests, police reports, pilots, files marked, unidentified. And maybe that's what makes Britain's UFO stories unsettling. Because it isn't dramatic. It's calm, documented, and unresolved. The skies over the UK are quieter than America's, and they're watching us just the same. To see some interesting videos of UFOs, UAPs, check the Mindseed TV on YouTube. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. If you enjoyed tonight's investigation, follow the show, leave a review and share it with someone who loves history, mystery and the shadows in between. You can find all episodes of the Dr. Den Does podcast for free on Spotify, iTunes and Podbean. The Dr. Den Does podcast is an original by me, Dr. Den. The executive producer is me, Dr. Den. Sound design by me, Dr. Den. Production by me, Dr. Den. Written by me, Dr. Den. And I'm your host, Dr. Den.
You can listen to these podcasts on Podbean, Mixcloud and YouTube. Just search Dr. Den Does and Black Fox Radio. Contact us now on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Dr. Den